In the summer of 2000, Real Madrid did something that changed football forever. They didn't just sign players, they bought icons. They're doing it again, but this time, it looks completely different. Let's be honest about something Real Madrid fans don't want to hear. The 2025-26 season was, by their own extraordinary standards, a disaster. No La Liga title, no Champions League, a dressing room that became a headline factory, and a coaching carousel that ended with one of the most divisive managers in football history walking through the doors of the Bernabéu. José Mourinho is back at Real Madrid. And the first thing Mourinho did wasn't give a press conference. It wasn't promise trophies. It was pick up the phone. Because if you know Mourinho, you know he doesn't rebuild, he reloads. Within weeks, 4 signings were confirmed or agreed. Marc Cucurella from Chelsea, Ibrahima-Konaté on a free from Liverpool, Denzel Dumfries from Inter Milan, and Bernardo Silva also on a free from Manchester City. But here's the question nobody is asking clearly enough. Why these 4? Why now? And what does it tell us about the Real Madrid Mourinho is trying to build? That's exactly what we're going to break down. To understand the signings, you first have to understand the problem. Real Madrid's defense in 2025-26 was, statistically, one of their most vulnerable in over a decade. Eder Militao spent months on the treatment table recovering from a hamstring tendon injury. Their 4 remaining center-backs, Rudiger, Huijsen, Asensio, and Militao in his limited appearances, won a combined 127 aerial duels across the entire La Liga season. Ibrahima-Konaté, by himself, won 124 aerial duels in the Premier League in the same campaign, and he won over 71% of every aerial battle he contested. This isn't just a signing, it's a surgical correction. But the aerial problem was only part of it. The fullback positions were in genuine crisis. Dani Carvajal, Madrid's starting right-back for over a decade, departed. On the left, Ferland Mendy remained injury-prone, while Fran Garcia and Alvaro Carreras struggled for consistency. Carreras, in particular, became the subject of a very public dressing room clash with Antonio Rudiger, the kind of story that poisons a squad from the inside out. Real Madrid had a defensive structure that looked fine on paper and fell apart on the pitch. Mourinho, a man who built his greatest teams on defensive solidity, identified that immediately. Start with Marc Cucurella. On the surface, this one surprised people. Chelsea's left-back, never universally loved by Premier League fans, now wearing white at the Bernabéu. But look closer. Cucurella isn't a traditional fullback who hugs the line and delivers crosses. He's a positionally intelligent hybrid, a left-back who presses aggressively, moves into midfield during the build-up phase, and creates numerical superiority in congested areas. At Chelsea, even in a dysfunctional system, he averaged some of the highest pressing intensity numbers for defenders in the Premier League. And crucially, Mourinho knew exactly who he was getting, not from scouting reports, from memory. When Madrid's new coach spoke to Cucurella for the first time, he referenced specific moments from a Chelsea versus Benfica Champions League match in September 2025, months before he took the job. That's not a manager signing a player. That's a coach building a trusted unit player by player, conversation by conversation. The fee, around £51.8 million with add-ons. For a 27-year-old international who immediately becomes Mourinho's on-field lieutenant. In today's market, that's a bargain. Now, Denzel Dumfries. Here's a player who thrived in one of the most tactically demanding systems in European football. Simone Inzaghi's Inter built their entire right flank around Dumfries, using him as a wing-back whose late runs into the box and powerful. Direct carrying in behind created a second wave of attack that opponents consistently underestimated. In the Champions League semi-final against Barcelona in 2025, he scored twice and assisted once. Man of the match. In a two-leg tie Madrid fans were watching closely, Dumfries was the difference maker. At Real Madrid, his role will be to cover the vacancy left by Carvajal, not to replicate him, but to complement Trent Alexander-Arnold, who now operates as a deep-lying playmaker from right midfield. The parallel is interesting. At Liverpool, Konaté spent 4 seasons covering the space vacated by Alexander-Arnold's interior runs. Now they're reunited at the Bernabéu. Madrid essentially bought a player who already knows how to protect and enable their existing system. The fee is 20 million euros via a release clause. That is extraordinary value for a Champions League-level performer. And then there's Ibrahima Konaté, the free transfer that might end up being the signing of the summer. At 27 years old on a free, with 5 years of top-level European experience, Konaté gives Madrid exactly what they've been missing: presence. Not just in the air, but in terms of leadership, physicality, and the ability to cover a high defensive line at pace. He arrives while Militao continues his injury recovery, slotting into competition with Rudiger and Huijsen. But given Madrid's track record of building around free transfers at exactly the right moment, think Rudiger himself arriving in 2022 on a free and becoming a cornerstone of 2 Champions League finals. This is a pattern, not an accident. So when did everything change? There wasn't a single match, a single moment. It was a realization that crept up on the club across the whole of 2025-26. Real Madrid had built their previous cycle around youth: Huijsen, Asensio, Güler, Camavinga, and there was genuine brilliance in that project. But what the season exposed was that youth without structure, without a defensive spine, and without leaders who'd already been tested in the biggest moments collapses. The average age of this summer's signings is 28 years and 9 months. That's not a coincidence. It's a philosophy. Mourinho's entire coaching identity is built around winners who already know how to win. He doesn't have the patience, or arguably the interest, in teaching leadership. He imports it, and every player signed this summer has trophies, big game experience, and scars. Florentino Perez, for his part, handed Mourinho something previous Real Madrid coaches rarely got: genuine input on the transfer strategy. This summer's window was collaborative in a way the club hadn't seen in years. The knock-on effects of this rebuild stretch far beyond Madrid. Chelsea lose their first-choice left-back, a World Cup starter for Spain, and face a summer of further reconstruction under incoming manager Xabi Alonso. Already short of experienced players, Cucurella's exit is one more destabilizing factor for a club still trying to find its identity. Inter Milan, having already lost Dumfries, faced the challenge of rebuilding a wing-back unit that was central to their European runs for half a decade. And Liverpool, they lose a free transfer, nothing they can control, but they lose the defensive partner who allowed Trent Alexander-Arnold to become the player he became. There's something quietly poetic about the fact that the defender who enabled TAA at Liverpool is now reunited with him at Real Madrid. 2 players from the same system, now in white, asked to do it all over again. Across the continent, Mourinho's Madrid are signaling something unmistakable. The era of patient youth development at the Bernabéu is paused. The clock is on. They want to win now. Is this a new Galáctico era? Not quite, at least not in the Florentino original sense. The first Galácticos were about star power, about identity, about sending a message to the world that Real Madrid was the center of football's universe. This window is different. This window is about gaps, about finding exactly the right profile for exactly the right problem. Konaté plugs the aerial void. Cucurella solves the left-back crisis. Dumfries fills the Carvajal vacuum while protecting the space Alexander-Arnold leaves. If the original Galácticos were bought to dazzle, this squad is being built to win. There's a famous line Mourinho used when he first arrived at Real Madrid 15 years ago. He said he didn't want a team of stars. He wanted a team that played like a team. He's trying again, older, sharper, and for the first time in a long time with the board behind him. Whether it works is the question that will define the next 2 seasons of European football. Real Madrid aren't rebuilding. They're reloading. And the rest of Europe should be paying attention. Here's what I want to know from you. Mourinho's Madrid, with Konaté, Cucurella, Dumfries, and Bernardo Silva, do you think they're genuinely capable of challenging for the Champions League next season? Or is this a project that needs at least one more summer? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. If you're new here, PitchLens breaks down football the way it deserves to be broken down. Subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.